All right, welcome to the Drill Down. We've got the business stories behind stocks on the move. I'm Cory Johnson, and this is episode number 243. Well, just ahead, Crowdstrike, strong quarter in cybersecurity. And Snowflake shocks the market when its billionaire CEO leaves after a pretty good quarter. And a fascinating conversation with a controversial company, iRhythm, under investigation from a variety of federal authorities as the CEO defends the business. Quentin Blackford joins us. But first, it's sponsor time.
The Drill Down is brought to you by BrainTrust, a global talent network that matches highly skilled technical freelancers with the world's most reputable brands. BrainTrust has helped clients like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Porsche, Under Armour, and more build agile tech teams fast at a fraction of the cost. Visit braintrust.com, that's BRAINTRUST.com to learn more and get 20% off when you use our link, braintrust.com/drilldown.
Well, I'm Futurum's Chief Market Strategist, Cory Johnson, and this is Futurum's The Drill Down, where we explain in depth the business stories behind some stocks on the move. Joining me in the mic, as always, Ben Wilson. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be here, as always.
Here, in your case, being the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, where it is beautiful and sunny and also 46 degrees outside, which honestly not too bad for middle of winter.
I guess. San Francisco here in the Ferry Building, kind of just about the same, maybe only slightly warmer.
Well, people didn't come to hear about the weather. I think they came to hear about your takes on some of these businesses. So, Cory, what stocks are you drilling down on today?
Let's start with Crowdstrike.
Crowdstrike trades with the ticker CRWD with a market cap of about $79 billion. Shares are up a measly 3% in the last week, but for the last 12 months, shares are up 164%. So what's the story with Crowdstrike?
So Crowdstrike, a business I can't say. I want to call it Cloudstrike, but it's not Crowdstrike. We've had the CEO of the show, George Kurtz. We loved it. We had him on about 2 years ago. And he talked about how they're trying to build a comprehensive solution to cybersecurity problems, and specifically focused on issues around data and having kind of a data-centric approach to dealing with hacking, so that their customers can deal with all kinds of cybersecurity threats in one place with a data-centric approach. He talked about that 2 years ago. He's been doing tiny little acquisitions along the way to do this. I say tiny because under $1 billion has kind of been their focus, but super interesting for this business. Here's the actual numbers. $845 million in revenues, earnings per share. Yeah, there were earnings for a change. There haven't been earnings in quite a while. With a profit for this company we'd like to see. But record sales growing at a 32.6% rate, which is awesome, although it's slowed down a little bit over recent years. Gross margins taking a big jump up to 75%. And I thought what was super interesting was their ARR, which is their annual recurring revenues. They give that number, they say that's the big thing they target, which is tricky when you're looking at a business quarterly. But when you look at ARR numbers, they're actually growing faster than revenues, which is really hopeful for the future of this company if their long-term contracts are growing even faster than all of their reported revenues in the quarter. And when you look at their net new ARR, so those are the new net, meaning whatever, but the total, the net, the new ARR, the new annual 1-year contracts, if you will, are actually growing at a faster rate every quarter the last few quarters they've reported. So really strong numbers with net new ARR up over 8%. But as I mentioned, for years I've been talking about creating a single solution for multi-hacking problems and centering that all around data. So George Kurtz talked about that on the conference call that sounded super bullish, at least to me. What do you think?
Obviously, a key part of our success has been that all of the modules are platform, which is a really key driver. And when I started the company, it was really about creating this data platform that allowed us to ingest data at scale and then create multiple use cases. And really what you're seeing is many, many years of hard work that allow us to solve use cases beyond just core endpoint protection. So when we think about cloud security, customers are really looking to rationalize the alphabet soup of cloud products that are out there. And they're looking not only for posture management, but runtime protection, and they want it all integrated into a data platform.
So yeah, that 32% growth really shows that their customers do want this. The stock after hours was way up, kind of gave that up the next day, but nonetheless, I think things looking like super strong growth is happening over there at Crowdstrike. Not any other name, Ben.
It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but you managed to make it all the way through in one take. Nobody will know it was one take, but it was one take.
Nobody will know, as far as they know.
I'll know, Cory. Cory, what is your next drill down?
Let's look at Snowflake.
Snowflake trades with the ticker SNOW, SNOW, with a market cap of about $55 billion. Shares were down 27% in the last week. Before the last 12 months, shares are up 17%. What's the story with Snowflake?
So two stories with Snowflake. There's a business story and there's the management story. So the business, I understand management is part of the business, but we'll get to that. So the business reported a quarter of $774 million, $775 million, up 32% year over year. That's really good. A really big business, even though they lost money because they regularly lose money, losing $169 million in the quarter. But when you look deeper, what really happened and really moved the market was a surprise resignation of Frank Slootman, the CEO. He came into the business about 5 years ago. No one expected him to leave this quickly, although he's worth billions of dollars now, which is rare for a non-founder to gain that kind of money. But he took this company public, it's seen it grow fantastically, and handing over the reins to Sridhar Ramaswamy. Now, he'd been there for a while. He was at Google before that, turning Google's ad business helping turn it into a very big business. And seems like just the kind of guy you running this. Also a scientist in that he had research positions at Bell Labs and Lucent. So he's got the resume, but a big surprise to see him come and take over for Frank Slootman, who was obviously well liked. But when you look at how the business is performing, I thought it was really interesting to hear from not either one of those, the new CEO or the outgoing CEO, but the existing CFO, Mike Scarpelli. Mark Scarpelli at Snowflake, as chief financial officer, talked about signing a lot of big long-term deals, not unlike Crowdstrike, which you talked about earlier, and that signing those deals in the fourth quarter was strong for them. And indeed, when they lowered the estimates for this business on the conference call, and it really shocked Wall Street, new CEO, lowered estimates, not good news. When I listened to what Mike Scarpelli did, it kind of sounded like, they're going to maybe lower numbers a little bit and kind of take a little of the pressure off of expectations. But he does say, well, listen to what he said. Here's Mike Scarpelli.
We signed a lot of large multi-year deals in Q4. I mentioned the one that was a 5-year, $250 million deal. There is, and so when customers, what that really shows is the commitment customers are making to Snowflake. And from a customer's perspective, as long as they use those credits up within their contract period, they're fine. There is a lot of pent-up demand for a lot of our new products that are coming out. We have a lot of customers that want Cortex and Snowpark container services. So I think it's going to be more back-end loaded this year. And until we see that consumption by our customers, it's hard to forecast that. So stay tuned.
So when they give a forecast, but then they say, stay tuned, that suggests to me they have some notion of what's coming up next in our programming schedule, Ben.
Sounds like it. Cory, what is your next drill down?
I want to look at Dell Technologies, which I think we can just call Dell.
Well, we could just call it Dell, I suppose. Dell trades with the ticker, get this, Dell, DELL, with a market cap of about $83 billion and an enterprise value of $105 billion. Shares are up 20% in the last week, but for the last 12 months, shares are up 212%. So what's the story with Dell Technologies?
Look, Dell is in the right place at the right time. This business, the actual numbers here, $222 billion in sales, a profit of $116 million. Now, this beat Wall Street estimates, so the stock goes up. But the numbers were down. They were down quite a bit. Revenues were down 11%. Although profits were up quite a bit, up 25%. But the reason they're able to do that is they're selling the right stuff. So they're selling equipment into data centers, their server business, and their AI-focused servers, shocker, doing really, really well. And they're also telling us that the PC business is about to really take off, that after, I think, 8 quarters of straight quarters of declines, that they think in the second half of this year, we're going to see big PC sales. And PCs are going to be able to do AI at the edge. So AI really the driver of these hardware sales here, and that these computing systems that allow AI to work for graphic processing units or GPUs that eat data, you need a lot of machines, a lot of Dell machines, or so says the chief financial officer, Jeffrey Clark.
I look at it maybe in the simplest terms, to feed these GPUs with the data they need to train models, fine-tune models, and ultimately drive them into production via inference is data intensive. And we look at that sort of architecture that these things need to be fed at an incredibly high bandwidth to make sure the GPU engines aren't idle. And when we reflect on what's happening in the marketplace with training, a lot of training initially has been done in text, and as we get to richer data sets and we move into enterprise, which we think the big opportunity is as AI tracks to where the data is created, which is on-prem or out at the edge of the network, it lends itself to a growing storage opportunity for us.
So these guys really positioning themselves for AI, whether it's at the data center or on the edge with the PCs, super interesting. It's also worth noting that their share of professional PC sales, so not to individuals in schools and so on, but to professionals, they now have 25% of the PC market in the US, up from about 13% 10 years ago. So if there is a big boom in PCs at the end of this year, and it's sure starting to look like that's going to happen, these guys are in exactly the right position to benefit from that.
Yeah, it's an impressive market share, and good for them for getting into position for it.
All right, our next guest, controversial San Francisco company called iRhythm. Why is it controversial? Well, they make a heart monitoring device that caused them to receive a warning letter from the FDA last May. A month earlier, a subpoena from the Consumer Protection Branch of the U.S. Justice Department. Now, the iRhythm CEO, Quentin Blackford, tells a bullish story, and indeed, he's going to tell it to us. We'll see if you believe him right after this.
The Drill Down is brought to you by Era. Never miss another critical event or insight ever. With Era, customize your company watch list and track key events, mentions, filings, and more, all with an easy-to-use, customizable interface. That's Era, AIERA.com.
Here we're joined right now on the Drill Down podcast by Quentin Blackford, the CEO of a really interesting company called iRhythm, right from somewhere in San Francisco. I'm in the Ferry building here. Quentin, where are you in San Francisco?
So we're right here in San Francisco. We're in the old Zynga building, if you're familiar with that building.
Oh yeah, sort of. I don't even know what you call that neighborhood. The furniture district, I guess.
You're down in that area. That's right.
Yeah, there we go. So, what problem is iRhythm trying to solve? You guys are kind of a new management team to a company that's been around for a while. Is that right?
We have been around a little while, and if you don't mind, maybe let me just take a quick moment to describe exactly who iRhythm is. We're a digital healthcare company, Cory, that is leveraging the power of artificial intelligence to try to completely disrupt the standard of care in terms of how you identify cardiac arrhythmias. So up to this point in time, a Holter monitor has been the standard of care. It's been around for nearly 50 to 60 years. And we're leveraging a patch-based technology that you wear for up to 2 weeks. And with the use of artificial intelligence, we can identify and diagnose arrhythmias at a much higher degree of accuracy than the current standard of care being the Holter monitor.
You said AI. I've been reading about the company for many, many years. That's a new twist to the story.
Well, it's something the company was founded with. It was always identified from the very early stages that we felt like you could take the artificial intelligence capability, bring it into healthcare, and improve outcomes tremendously. And we've been able to build the success of the company on AI. Today, we have nearly 2 billion hours of heartbeat data that power our algorithms, which are now deep neural networks. It goes far beyond sort of expert rule capabilities or machine learning capabilities, true neural networks that are informing the outcomes of our reports that we ultimately put into the hands of physicians who make the diagnosis right from that report. What's interesting is 99% of the time, that physician is going to agree with our report is what the data will tell us. So it's a very high level and sophistication of artificial intelligence capability.
Yeah, it's an interesting process. So basically, the way I think of the company, and tell me I'm of course oversimplifying, but essentially a patient gets a thing kind of like a Band-Aid. They tape it on an area above their collarbone, and it measures their heart rate. And then you monitor that on a remote basis for a limited period of time. Is that right?
Yeah, you've got it almost exactly right. Just like a bandage, you're going to put it right across your chest. You're going to wear for a period of up to 14 days. We know that the longer you monitor, the longer that duration is, the more accurate we're going to find those arrhythmias to be. And so at the end of the 14 days, you're going to send it back to iRhythm. We'll download the data, we'll interpret it, we'll provide a report right back to the physician, and they'll make the diagnosis from it.
And how has the hardware changed over the course of the last year?
Well, we launched a brand new product in our Zio monitor in September of 2023, which miniaturized the existing hardware tremendously. So the new product, 72% smaller, more than 50% lighter than the prior product, which just it enhances the patient experience. The patient feedback, the patient compliance with our product is north of 98% in terms of satisfaction or wearing it out to the 14-day duration, which it's a product that's very easy and comfortable for the patient to wear.
And how do you guys get paid for this? Do you sell the device? You get paid for the data? And who's the payer, I should ask as well?
Sure. The payer can be really one of two folks. We'll either sell the device directly into a physician's office. They'll apply that patch to the patient. Patient will wear it, and then the physician will bill the payer. Or we'll offer a model where we will provide that service of billing the payer as well once we provide the service and the report back to the physician. So one of two models, either we're billing payers directly or we're billing physicians.
And is it mostly the billing is for the monitoring, or is it for the actual device itself?
I think what's unique about iRhythm is we're more than a product. We're a platform that offers a product with a service to it. So what we're billing for is the combination of the product that we provide, but also the back-end service that we provide, which is the interpretation of the reports and hand a recommendation back to the physician who will then make a diagnosis from it. So it's the complete end-to-end service.
What are the drivers of growth?
Well, what's really interesting...
People with horrible diets who have heart problems, probably.
Well, certainly heart issues are one of those points in time. Right? You know, there's a tremendous amount of unknown arrhythmias that exist in the marketplace today. There's roughly 6 million tests being prescribed today, but there are 15 million folks showing up in primary care with heart palpitations already in their medical records. We believe that we ought to be monitoring something closer to that 15 million. And we've made a big push in the last 2 years to really move into primary care. Our customer call point has historically been a cardiologist or an electrophysiologist. Given how easy it is to use the product, we're pushing up into primary care. And today, after 2 years of really focusing in that area, more than 20% of our overall registrations are now coming from a primary care physician. So we're seeing it move there very quickly, and I think that's ultimately where you're going to see it get applied in the future.
And what's the impact on inventory as you do that? Do you have to stockpile the devices as you get ready to expand that push?
Well, we do. We have one of two models. We'll either put inventory right into the physician's clinic on the shelf, or we'll deploy a home enrollment model where the physician can prescribe the product, and we'll send it directly to the patient's home, and they can put it on themselves in their, at their home. So we've got one of two models.
And I would imagine that your patients are all over the United States.
They are. We're predominantly in the U.S. 98% of our revenue is in the U.S. We're just beginning to move into the U.K. and Japan, but yeah, it's all across the U.S.
And so, one of the things we talk about being in San Francisco, and I love that you're in San Francisco. I'm a big bull on San Francisco, and not everyone is right now. But you're both reducing the amount of real estate that you're using in San Francisco, but also hiring. Explain that push and pull.
Yeah, I think it's about maximizing sort of the mix of our employees and who we want to have and what locations. And so those technical skills that are super critical to us to be right there in San Francisco, our development teams, our data science teams, our artificial intelligence folks, we want those to be right there in the city. We think that's where the greatest talent pool is for those folks. At the same time, those folks who are interpreting the reports, we want to hire those folks into San Francisco as well. And then there's some other back office functions that we believe we can do in other places and maximize other real estate footprints to a greater degree, and we're moving in that direction.
So when you analyze those reports from patients all over the country, and you bill Medicare, in the case where you've got a Medicare patient, are the billing rates different in San Francisco than it would be in, say, Wyoming or I don't know, somewhere that's got high healthcare costs like Louisiana?
They are different, Cory. And to be honest with you, there's probably 100 different rates out across the U.S. depending on where you have these independent diagnostic testing facilities.
And you're able to standardize it to San Francisco rate then?
We have built out a presence in San Francisco, if you will. I think one of the most important things is if you're going to build the IDTF in San Francisco, the work needs to take place in San Francisco, right? So we've been hiring those, we call them CCTs, clinical technicians, right there in the city as we build out that capability where our headquarters is at.
Well, that's going to be great for you, though. If you're processing the data from someone in Montana, if you were in Montana, you'd only charge a Montana rate. Because you're processing it in San Francisco, you're going to charge the higher San Francisco rate, which has got to be good for your business.
Well, it's good from a revenue perspective, but it's also more costly to employ folks in San Francisco, right? But still, from a margin perspective, it makes a lot of financial sense. And as you noted, we're headquartered right there in San Francisco. We've got a large facility footprint to take advantage of, and we've been filling that facility as we speak.
Right. I just saw that you were talking in your most recent conference call about moving now well over 50% to, what do you call them, IRTCs, is that right, to San Francisco. And I thought that was, I was trying to figure out what that meant. It must mean you can bill higher in San Francisco than you can bill somewhere else, and of course have everybody under one roof.
Yeah, so long as you have the resources there, right? And it's super critical that that's where the work is being done. And so as we hire up in San Francisco, we can do more work there in San Francisco.
Sure.
So it really is a pacing matter of just how quickly can you hire and put those resources in that location. And that's something we've been focused on.
As I searched about that and went through some transcripts, I found your former CEO reluctant to make this move. And he referred to it as a gouging type effect. And I wonder if what you're doing is cool with CMS, if it's cool with the Federal Trade Commission and so on, or if that might be the source of some conflict.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think that at the end of the day, it comes back to where is the work being done? Where are your people located who are doing the interpretation of these reports? You look back at prior management, I think it was a very different discussion at that point in time. That CEO and that leader at the time, we didn't have a national rate in place. So CMS had not made a decision to reimburse on a national level. So you were left to contract with individual MACs or Medicare administrative contractors that are spread out all across the country. At that point in time, the company had contracted with a MAC in Houston. But as we continue to work with CMS to get a national rate put in place, and ultimately was able to do that in 2022, effective for 2023, then you start to think very differently around how Medicare is built.
Last question, any progress on the investigations from federal government entities, FTC and beyond?
Well, I think you're referring to the FDA. Obviously, that's
Excuse me, FDA, thank you.
Yeah, we're working very cooperatively with them. What's encouraging is we've gotten 2 510Ks on file with them. They're in the process of reviewing those as we speak. Yeah. And I would say that relationship has come a long way from where it once used to be. And we're super proud about the progress being made.
Quentin Blackford, CEO of iRhythm. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it today.
Yeah. Thanks, Cory.
The Drill Down is brought to you by Futurum Group, where analysts, researchers, advisors, content creators, and marketing experts help business leaders anticipate and understand shifts in their industries and build strategies to leverage disruptive innovation. With deep analysis, Futurum Group's extensive industry experience delivers reliable research and data, thought leadership, and actionable advice to help you with your strategy and go-to-market efforts. Futurum Group.
All right, we're back with the Drill Down Bite, the one number that tells us a whole lot related to iRhythm. Well, your number is actually kind of right. Greater than 50%.
That's not one number.
Sure it is.
That's 49 numbers if you tack on a percent
more than that
symbol.
I mean, once you get into the decimals, you can go on forever.
That's true.
But, that was the number that was given to us by iRhythm in their last quarterly conference call regarding how much data they process in San Francisco. So iRhythm processes what they said is well north of 50% of its cardiac monitoring services through their San Francisco testing facilities, regardless of the patient's location. And as you heard from that interview, this allows iRhythm to take advantage of the higher Medicaid rates for San Francisco, regardless of the patient's location. A practice that the last CEO said that they would never do, but here they are doing that to hopefully, good results for the patients and lasting results for iRhythm. We'll see. Well, thank you for listening to Futurum's The Drill Down. I'm Cory Johnson. Thank you, Ben Wilson, our fabulous co-host, and importantly, our editor extraordinaire. Futurum's The Drill Down, a production of Futurum's The Business Podcast Network.